Tinubu will regret alliance with the North. Welcome to GEJ Media channel. This is a channel where we explore the truth behind the headline. Below is my interview with the Nigerian Express, where we discussed Buhari, Osinbajo, Obasanjo, Awolowo, Jonathan, the North, the South, IPOB, Civil War, and much more. Once more, in GEJ Media channel. 2023, Tinubu will regret his alliance with the North. Femi, Fani, Kayode. Chief Femi Kayode, a former Minister of Aviation, an essayist, a poet, a political activist. He spoke to Akala, on the contemporary political developments in Nigeria, relations among the ethnic groups, the country, the civil war, the agitation for self-determination, the need to restructure the Nigerian entity, as well as jostling for the 2023 presidential or rather presidency amongst politicians from the South and other issues. He was asked the following questions. Question number 1. Just recently, the reporter asked, Nigeria celebrated its 59th independence anniversary. You also celebrated your 59th birthday some days ago. As a historian, somebody whose father also played a significant role in ensuring that Nigeria became an independent nation, would you say the country's founding fathers will be proud of the position the country is now, 59 years after? Femi Kayode answered the reporter. He said, we quote, I think we ought to have gone much farther than we have gone. And if I am to be frank, I will tell you that Nigeria that fought for independence, including my fathers and many generations before them, would not be too pleased with the situation we are in Nigeria today. We were meant to have gone much further, become much stronger, much more united. We were meant to be the greatest assets of the black man on the planet Earth. But we have failed in all these respects, and consequently, I will have to say that I am rather also very, very disappointed. We are like a giant that has shrunk into the position of a dwarf. We have been dwarfed in many ways, even by countries that are far smaller, with far more less potentials than us. Even in the African continent, look around you. That's not good enough. And I think it's all boils down to one thing. The fact that we have leadership that has not been the best for so much of the past 59 years. GEJ Media would add, yet it is true. It is true that in the last 59 years, Nigeria have never had a president that actually came to power prepared. The only one that contested 3 times, you think he's prepared, came and took Nigeria back. Femi Fayode continued. And of course, the other part of the problem is that we have not been able to answer the fundamental question like, for example, the national question and the outstanding issues concerning the Nigerian civil war and so many other things. And I think this is why our development has been stagnated and in many ways have become retrogressive. Femi Kayode concluded on that question 1. Now, the second question. You talked about the national question. What is the national question? And do you think there have been sincere efforts to address this national question? Fani Kayode answered, I don't think most political leaders or politicians in Nigeria even know what the national question is. And that is really worrying, because as long as you don't answer that national question or address that national issue, we will continue to go round in circle. What the children will say, we go round and round and round and round. Of course, he continued, it starts with one fundamental question. which was asked in 1947 by the great chief Obafemi Awolowo in his book, The Path to Nigeria Freedom. Many of you listening in Ginger Media would advise you to go get that book in the bookshops around you. It's about 500 or 1,000 naira. Read it. And the question was simple. Is Nigeria really a nation? Awolowo queried. And Awolowo concluded by saying no. Nigeria, that it is a mere geographical expression. A nation, Ginger Media will add, joined and jammed together just for the convenience of the British. Femi Kayode added that there is so much difference as between the Germans and the Turk, that is the Turkish people, as there is difference between a Fulani man and an Igbo man, and everybody ought to be able to develop at their own pace within his own space or region and zone. That was essentially what Awolowo was contending in 1947. And many decades later, I still think he was right. Yes, we at Ginger Media also agree here with Awolowo and with Fani Kayode. Nigeria is a mere geographical expression. We need to be in our own various regions and govern our own space. Fani Kayode continued, we pretend to be one nation. We tell ourselves that we are one. But deep down, we know how much we resent one another for various reasons. We continue to act as if this is a marriage that is eternal, even though we don't want it. That is the reality of Nigerian situation today. Most politicians will not say this to you because they are interested in getting votes from all over the country. And so, they prostitute their principles and compromise on so many issues. But the new type of politicians that I think will deliver Nigeria and this country will not think like that. I think they don't need to think like that. I would rather tread the path of truth and justice than to say things that are politically correct in order to gain favor with the Northerners or anybody from other parts of this country. The path of truth is very simple, and that is, the path of truth is the path that will deliver this country into the light of God and the greatness that she deserves. And we must not shy away from treading this path. We are not a nation. We are a unity, or rather a union of ethnic nationalities that are yet to resolve their own fundamental differences and fundamental issues. The question that were raised before the Nigerian Civil War and in the course of that war are still being raised today. And my prayer is that it does not take another war or another civil conflict in this country for us to resolve those issues. We can resolve them in an amicable and peaceful way, Femi Kayode continued. So that everybody will feel equal before God and will feel they have equal opportunity to aspire to excel in this country as citizens. And some that are born to rule and some that are destined to serve. He concluded. Question 2. Now, the third question was, how can we as a country resolve this question? Because some, like the indigenous people of Biafra, want every tribe in the country to go their separate ways, as was during the independent entities. That they want to go their own separate ways as independent entities, while other things, restructuring of the polity, will give every Nigerian a sense of belonging. On which side of the divide are you? Femi Kayode answered, the battle for restructuring is dead and buried. Restructuring is not discussed in the National Assembly. It's not discussed even in the main political parties. As long as they are concerned, restructuring is a dirty word. To me, it is a way out of this mess that we have put ourselves together. But to most political correct politicians, who are mostly insincere and cowardly. They won't even talk about it. The leadership of the two main political parties, that is the PDP and the APC, will not talk about it as a matter of policy. Neither will most of the small political parties do. But this is something so obvious that ought to have been done long ago, not now. And the problem now is that it may well be too late for that. The sentiment is so strong now for ethnic nationalism, it is happening all over the world. Look at what's happening in Germany, in the US with Trump, in the UK with Brexit. The right-wing political parties in Europe, like in Holland, are equally like in Germany. The rise of ethnic nationalism is going on all over the world, and Nigeria cannot be isolated from that. In this country, we have major ethnic nationalities that see themselves as members of that nationality before seeing themselves as Nigerians. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with that. It is the perfectly natural order of things, and that is the conflict we have in Nigeria. This globalized hybrid state that we must become one. To my mind, Femi Kayode continued, is not neutral. Yes, we can become one if we share common values, common vision, common understanding about how life should be, and common worldview. But if we don't have that, and if one believes that he is king and the other are slaves, and must be a slave forever, then on what basis can we continue to stay together, and why should we remain together? Just because a rather misguided man in 1914 by the name Lord Lugard with his wife decided that we should be together? I resent and I reject that, and the Ginger Media concurs with this. We reject and we reject and we resent it. He continues, I am a proud Omo Karo Ojari. I refuse to use that word Yoruba. I am a proud son of the Oduduwa, and I believe proudly and passionately in the rights of the people of the Southwest to determine their future and to self-determination. If that's what they choose to do, I believe that the people of the Southeast, the Igbos, have the right as well, if that's what they choose to do. And I believe in the power of referendum, self-determination, and I think it is absolutely wrong for anybody to say I don't have that right to exercise. I do not have the right to exercise that right, provided I do it in a peaceful, logical, and rational manner. And Ginger Media will say, as long as Nigeria does not have a constitution that has referendum, if I want to separate and I can go my separate way, Nigeria is not a serious country and shall never be taken seriously. This is from Ginger Media. Now, question 4. Are you calling for the dissolution of Nigeria as a country then? Because that is what this right to self-determination will amount to. Femi Kayode answered, I am calling for self-determination of any ethnic nationality that choose to be self-determined based on referendum. This happens all over the world. International law backs it, and it's something that should be done, provided it is what the people want, and it is done peacefully. And that's my view. Even if I don't believe in it, I don't think it will be right for me to impose my will on others and deny them the right to believe in self-determination or the right of referendum to decide whether or not we should remain as one. The UK that brought us together and declared our marriage one between the poor, the husband of the North, and the rich wife of the South, they recently said that we must remain forever in doing, and said we must remain forever is doing that today. So today, they have Brexit. They are Brexiting based on referendum. A people that have a referendum does not want to give us referendum. They are exiting with a referendum from Europe. And they are also doing it internally with the United Kingdom, the Scottish people, had a referendum recently, about 3 years ago, and they with a very narrow margin, agreed to stay in the United Kingdom. If they hold another referendum today, in the next few years, definitely, Scotland is leaving the United Kingdom. So there is no way the United Kingdom will leave Europe and Scotland will not leave United Kingdom. So if they do another poll today, that is likely to happen. All the polls suggest that. And they will be allowed to leave. It is on the basis of expression of free will that you can say you will establish a nation. Now, if you don't want that, if you don't want part of that, if you don't want that part to be taken by the people, the only way is to treat them with respect, love, and apologize to them when you got it wrong. I cite the case of the Igbo people, and I have said this over and over again. A situation where 3 million people, 3 million civilians were killed during the Nigerian Civil War, the greatest act of genocide in the history of Africa continent, black on black. This is not white, this is black on black. Not white on black, because King Leopold II killed over 10 million Congolese that we know, but we killed 3 million Igbos, civilians, men, women, children, in a space of 3 years. And we have not apologized for that. That is a crime against humanity. It is a war crime. And for that kind of thing, the Nigerian commanders in the field, the Nigerian head of state at that time, all should be held and be tried at ICC. But I haven't called for that. All I'm saying is that at least we should have the decency to apologize, and also apologize for the fact that between 30,000 and 100,000 of them were just killed before the civil war by mob in the north. These are the fundamental issues that Nigerian state must address. Every country that has indulged in such barbarity in the past have apologized, including the Belgians. The only country that has refused to do and has committed genocide and has refused to apologize is Turkey. And I think we should be in this. I don't think we should be in the same bracket as Turkey. They killed 1 million Christians, Armenians, and they haven't acknowledged it. We don't want to be in that category. Everybody else, including the Germans, what they did to this Second World War, 50 million Jews died, 60 million Jews died, 6 million Jews were gassed to death, and they apologized. Everybody at some time recognizes the power of apology, reconciliation, and restitution. But we haven't done that. Instead, we are still killing Igbos till today. Is that how a nation is built? And when they say they want to go because they are tired of being killed, even now we are still killing them. Njenje Media will add, it breaks our heart that Igbo are still being killed. Remember the Aba massacre of 2016, when IPOB members were praying for the release of their leader Nnamdi Kanu. And the Nigerian army and police invaded the environment and started shooting. The same thing applies today as we speak. As long as you're seen with any Biafran flag or anything, you are shot. This is not a nation. Biafra was a nation that existed, and people should have the right to carry anything as long as they are peaceful. What type of nation are we running? Njenje Media queries. Femi Kayode continues, it is unacceptable. Sadly, it is just the Igbo now that are being killed. If you go to the Middle Belt, the Niger Delta, the West, the Midwest, you'll find that people are being slaughtered as they did to Igbos before. All of these slaughterings are being carried out by Fulani herdsmen. Of course, you have Boko Haram in the northeast. It is so bad that Fulani herdsmen are even killing the local Hausas in the north itself. The ethnic group carrying out this havoc, 7% of the population. That's what they are. And they will sit here and say we are one nation. We don't have the right to retaliate. We don't have the right to cry. We don't have the right to aspire to be leaders in this country because we are second-class citizens. Even when we are the indigenous people of Nigeria. And you are saying we must accept that? I will never do that unless they change and these things stop. Nigerians' unity can never be something that we will accept by all of us. Question number 5. Some critics, especially from the north, had always faulted that call to apologize to the Igbos over the civil war with the argument that the war was a reaction to the killings carried out in the first coup in 1966, led by the officers who hailed mostly from the then eastern region. Femi Kayode answered, I am very conversant with the history. I am part of it. They came to my father's house in January 1966. I was conversant with what they did, and my father was the only person that was taken away from that home that night who was not killed. About 20 people, key leaders in the military and the government of that era, were killed. My father only escaped by divine providence because the federal troops saved him at Dodam Barrack, and I appreciated that. And I appreciate the pain that were caused that night because I felt the pain too. I will never forget it. I witnessed it, I saw it, and I suffered the consequences for many years because it traumatized me. The killing of all those people was barbaric, unacceptable. I have said it. Definitely the majority of the participants were Igbos. I am not disputing that. But the question that you have first to answer is, did those Igbo officers conduct a referendum in the eastern region before embarking on that coup? Did they do it on behalf of the Igbos? No, they didn't. Because if you say you want to punish a whole ethnic nationality because of the action of a few people who are barbaric, and this barbaric action in terms of slaughter, they killed 20 people. You now say you want to wipe out an entire nationality. I think that's unacceptable behavior. The reaction is even more barbaric and quite unacceptable. Now, here is Njenje Media. Njenje Media must add, yes, it is a false narrative that the 1966 coup is being referred to as Igbo coup. Yes, as Fani Kayode said, there was no referendum. But how can people say that? We have coups after that. Why wouldn't we say that the July 66 coup was equally a northern coup? Why was Buhari's coup not tagged a northern coup? Why was Babangida's coup not tagged a northern coup? Why was Gideon Oka's coup not tagged Niger Delta coup? I think it is this false narrative. Yes, some of the leaders are Igbos. Bear in mind, the coup was made in order to enthrone not an Igbo, but Awolowo, who was imprisoned in Calabar. Therefore, it is an absurdity to ever consider this to be an Igbo coup. It is that false narrative that we must fight tooth and nail to change and to correct because it is wrong. Back to Femi Kayode's interview, question number 6. The argument was that the killing took place during a war situation. Femi Kayode answered, it was not a war because there was a coup in January 1966. 20 leaders were killed from all over the country and only one leader was killed in the southeast. It was a tragedy. It was a wicked act. I accept that. But there was no war at that time. There was a coup, an attempted coup, and the coup failed. Now, Njenje Media will add here, because that is another thing that everybody keep missing. The coup, what people don't know, you cannot call it an Igbo coup, January 1966 coup, because that same coup was stopped by 2 Igbo men, Agu Ironsi and the Ojukwu. These 2 men were the ones that stopped the coup. They were Igbo. Think about it, Nigerians. 2 Igbos did coup. Igbo saved it. If we remove the useless ethnic connotation to this, we will begin to see the clearer picture. These guys saw themselves first as Nigerians, not as Igbos. As of that time, they had the zeal to work for one united nation, for one united country. But after that coup, everything changed. The lies began to fly. Njenje Media concludes. And what happened next? Femi Kayode continues. The Northerners now decided to do a counter coup. Again, there was no war. It was what they called a Northern revenge coup, to avenge those that were killed in the first coup. And what did you do? Here is what they did. They killed 300 Igbo officers in one night. They killed an Igbo head of state, Ironsi. They killed a Yoruba governor of the western region, Fajui. They killed a number of other people all in one night. Now, look at it in numbers. 20 of yours were killed. You killed 300 of theirs, plus the head of state and the Yoruba army officer 6 months later. and there was no war declared. You didn't stop there, but went a step further, few months later, and slaughtered in the north. The official figures were 30,000. Real figures is close to or over 100,000 Igbo civilians who knew nothing about the coup plotting, who did not participate in it, who are equally victims and were still mourning their people they were killed. People, those killing took places in few programs in space of 2 months, and again, no war had been declared at that time. But you didn't stop there. When the Igbo said, enough is enough, let's go back to East and let's stay on our own. And they were going back. You were killing them at train stations, firing bows and arrows at them. And when they got to the East, it wasn't still enough for you. They are now back home. They now said, look, if you want to wipe us all out, it is perfectly natural for you to say we want to leave. And they now said they want to go. And they went home. First, you agreed that they will go based on terms agreed and at the Aburi. Then you now changed your mind that even Aburi, which you have signed in Ghana, in the presence of the Ghanaian head of state, and agreed on, you are not going to accept it anymore. How can that injustice keep happening? You went to Aburi, no one forced you to sign, you signed on your own volition, now you say you do not want to implement that. They must stay by force and war started. And what did you do during the civil war? You killed 3 million Igbos, 3 million civilians. The number of Biafran soldiers that were killed was not more than 30,000 or 40,000, but you killed 3 million Biafran civilians. 1 million of them were starved to death with the policy of starvation that you put in place. And the media must know that policy was championed by Awolowo, who justified it that hunger is also a weapon of war. How can this be? You commit genocide against a people, and for how long shall this madness continue? For how long? For how long shall the people of Nigeria keep thinking that this nation will work? How can we continue in this way? How can we continue in this manner? How can we continue? How? How can we continue? How? We ask at Njenje Media. This level of injustice is unbearable. This level of injustice is killing. Because when you look at all things happening, you question yourself, are we really a people? You killed people and they went home and you went after them. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Femi Kayode continued, and you justified that policy before the world when Nigerians said starvation is a legitimate weapon of war. Have you ever heard anything such inhumane as that? I know who said that, and I don't want to mention the name. But Femi Kayode, we at Njenje Media will help you mention that name. It was the Yoruba leader, Obafemi Awolowo. Another government official, a minister in Gowon's government, went to America. When Americans were crying that we were committing genocide against the evil, he said, no, we are simply defending ourselves. We will stab them to death. The people that said these were politicians, civilian leaders, and all the rest. Yes, that we know. The heart of man is so evil and so wicked. We know these things, that we know, and we regret that these things ever happened in Nigeria. It is unbelievable the way and the manner these things happen in Nigeria. How can we in this 21st century, you think these things happened in the 60s and in the 70s, they are no longer happening? As we speak today, these things are happening and happening every single day. They are still happening. It is unbelievable. The Nigerian state does not work, and Nigerian state, if it cannot work, let us dissolve and let us go our own separate ways. It is not an impossibility to do. This is the Njenje Media still analyzing this. Now Femi Kayode continues, we have killed many in the last 4 years. You killed many IPOB people, and now they are saying they want to go, and you saying they have no right to go. Is that right? Is that justice? Question number 7.